Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SIL Legal Lounge podcast, Let's Talk Law, a show where we talk about different areas of law and policy in a frank and easy to understand manner so that everyone can end up learning something new. My name is Nida Tareen, and I have been a legal educator for over 20 years, and I'm also the co founder for the School of International Law, otherwise known as SIL, a recognized teaching center for the University of London International Programs. The topic that we have chosen for today is international law and international legal careers. And this is especially for law students or law graduates who wish to explore a career in international law, but they have no idea what all they need to do to actually get towards their goal. My guest for today is someone who has had an extremely impressive career internationally in the Middle East as well as here in Pakistan. I am talking about Barrister Taimur Malik, who is the senior partner currently of Kilam Law, which is a leading law firm of Pakistan with offices in Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, and Multan. He is also a partner at Park Launch, Pakistan's largest technology, entrepreneurship, and investment platform. And more importantly, for all the law students who are watching, he is the founder of Quoting the Law, the leading legal literacy and access to justice initiative in the country. Welcome to the show, Temur. And before I give the mic, so to speak, to you, I always end my introduction for all my guests by saying, well, not always, but most of the time, by saying that I'm very proud that they are SIL faculty or SIL alumni. Well, Temur is neither of those, but I'm very proud because Temur is my cousin, and it's great to have him here on the show today. So thank you, Temur, for taking out time, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Linda. It's an absolute pleasure to be on your podcast, and I hope that this discussion is useful not just for your students, for SIL students, but for a wider, broader audience as well.
Inshallah,
And
that is the goal. And not just
and
for
give
students.
not just for students, I mean anybody interested in this topic. And I would add that especially given the focus on the topic today, that I've had the privilege of being a equity partner at a US law firm, Curtis Mallet Provost, Colton Mosley, and then at Clyde and Co, which is the largest international law firm in the Middle East with offices across the GCC region and beyond. So with that, I know a thing or two about building an international career from a Pakistani lawyer or student's perspective. And before moving to the Middle East, I used to be executive director of the Research Society of International Law in Pakistan. Many law students and young lawyers in Pakistan would be familiar with RSIL, hopefully, because of its fellowship or other programs, its outreach programs. And I hope many of you do get to interact with public international law in one form or the other. Today's discussion, Ida, I think, could be a bit broader than just public international law or private international law, but generally building international careers, perhaps.
Thank you so much, and we're very proud of all that you have achieved. And definitely, I actually have quite a few pages worth of questions here with me because, again, we always try and gather some questions from law students in particular, when we try and when we are basically deciding on what the topic is. So I got quite a few questions. I will try and narrow them down as much as possible. But starting off, the first question which I had was, so many students think that a career in international law is limited to working in organizations like, for instance, the United Nations or perhaps the International Court of Justice. So, how accurate is that, and what other realistic options really exist?
So I think that's not accurate at all because there are thousands of international organizations in the world where one could work. We've had former colleagues from Pakistan who work in organizations such as UNODC, who work, at places such as ICSID, at the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC, in the field of arbitration. People who've worked with OIC, the Organization of Islamic Countries. There are people who worked at UNCITRAL. Back in the day, I did a research fellowship with UNIDWA, the International Institute for the Unification of Private Law in Rome. So, I mean, there are just so many different organizations. beyond just the International Court of Justice, the International Criminal Court, the United Nations and its subsidiaries. There is the WHO. There are so many other organizations where you can really find an opportunity. And even beyond these public sector sort of or INGO organizations, there are also think tanks. We have the South Center in Geneva, where too I had the good fortune of doing a fellowship once, and it talks about South related issues. And another British Pakistani lawyer of great repute, Mehnaz Malik, did something there before me. So there are paths that other Pakistani lawyers have pursued in the past. So if you just look at their careers, I think you can see what kind of opportunities might exist out there in the market. And beyond that, of course, you have opportunities at the UK bar. If you become a barrister, if you get a pupillage, and if you pursue a career there, whether your interest is in human rights, it's in criminal law, it's in public international law, English law development to a large extent still takes place in and around London. And I have a colleague, Malika Bukhari, who, after her stint in politics, reinvented herself and went back to the bar in UK and is practicing with a very prominent chamber there and building a very international career. We have other examples of people who worked in law firms in Pakistan and are now working in law firms, both international and regional law firms in the Middle East. I know at least 50 former associates or quoting the law interns or Kanundan interns who are now working in the Middle East in different capacities. Uh, some are working in-house with multinational companies, even with the, organizations like IOM, International Organization for Migration, or their, contractor entities, their implementation partners like Adam Smith International,
Right.
DAI, and so on. So there is a lot that can be done. We have, as we record this session, uh, we work with a young lawyer, not a lawyer actually, a young professional, Shazar Elahi, who's built Enablify AI, and with along with Kalam Law, we are doing AI enablement for in-house legal teams. And he is in Kenya as we record this, training members of the Kenyan bar on the same matter. So he's not a lawyer. He's worked a lot with lawyers because he was at the Legal Aid Society working with our friend Hayazad there, and started doing international trainings and developed a career out of it. We have female-led organizations like Musavi, where Fatma Bukhari and Sevim Sadat are there, and I know that they've done trainings for judges as far as in Malaysia. So a lot can be done. I think first of all, the purpose of giving these examples and names as well was to make it a bit more realistic, and so you can relate to it. You can Google these people, you can check them on LinkedIn and see what they've been doing. So these are real examples, and in
And
many
broaden
cases,
your horizons in general.
absolutely. You don't necessarily need to think that I'm going to come out of law school or do a postgrad degree and then work with a senior lawyer in Lahore, Karachi, or Islamabad, or I'm going to try and find a pupillage in London, or I'm going to apply for a training contract with a law firm. You can really, dream about whatever you want to do. So, and you will find that there is a path for you out there in the international market. And
So
Pakistani lawyers are second to none.
So, building on what you said, like, there is a lot out there and you can build up on that. But now I have a slightly, well, it's a very realistic question, and a lot of students asked me to insert this in. So, how important are foreign LLM degrees for breaking into international law? And are there any alternative routes for students who can't study abroad, or, for instance, who can't do foreign based degrees? Let's just have a very realistic answer to that.
I think if you've done a local law degree and it's from an institute like LUMS, you'll be fine.
Okay.
The best of the LUMS law students have gone on to the top universities in the world, at times on scholarships to make their mark. Many who've not done that have still excelled in their professional life in Pakistan and are already, some of the most promising lawyers in the country. Uh, as far as other law colleges are concerned, if the generation before us used to pride in the fact that if you had graduated from Punjab University Law College or from, the university in Peshawar or in Karachi, you would really be, at the top of your profession because the merit-based system ensured that the best students with the highest marks, get admitted to these law schools. Over the last 20, 25 years, of course, external degrees have taken Pakistan by storm, and especially in the legal field. And a lot of us have gone through the University of London external degree route. And now the advantage with that has been that, you can do it straight after A levels, you can be done with it in 3 years. And because the degree, if you get a 2-1 or a 1 in a University of London external degree, that's sort of a global standard where the universities and the employers know what does it mean if somebody has a first or a 2-1 in a University of London international program degree, and that opens up doors. So while if you have to practice in Pakistan, that can create some disadvantage because you have to learn the local laws, especially in relation to law of evidence, CPC, CRPC, Muslim family law, and so on. But from an international market perspective, University of London degree at times gives you an advantage as well. We've seen in the past examples of both LUMS or Punjab University law graduates going on to do well internationally. I have a former associate and a quoting the law intern who got a gold medal from Punjab University Law College. His name is Bilal Ramzan, and he is now a partner with a regional law firm in the GCC called Global Advocates. So, and he's still very young. So he's under 40 and he's achieved that mark. There are so many examples of students coming out of LUMS as well. So if you can't afford to, or your circumstances don't permit you to do an external law degree or a foreign degree, it doesn't mean that you can't go on to build an international career. We have examples of people who've done that and eventually, gone on to study at the best universities in the world on scholarships as well. If you can and have done a University of London external degree, your goal and path can be slightly different. You will, I think, struggle the initial year or two in the Pakistani market because you have to relearn or learn a lot of things in the local context. But if you have a good result, you are likely to be able to get admission in some very good universities. If you have an exceptional result and good internships, publications, then you may end up in the Ivy Leagues or Oxbridge or LSE as well for your masters, and that of course is helpful. When I was a partner at these big law firms abroad, when we would hire, of course there is a general tendency to shortlist applicants who come from the best universities in the world. So we have to face that reality. In fact, by the time the shortlisted CVs come to the recruiting partners, the HR teams, the front-facing younger lawyers have already, shortlisted CVs based on people's academic results, what they have done in terms of internships and publications, and which universities did they go to, especially for their, post-grad degrees, or if they did a bar at law, how did they do, how well did they perform in that. So these things do matter, and there is no end to education in law as such. I mean, the days where you could just simply do an LLB, whether local or external, and grow to be the best lawyer in the country or in the region or aspire to be
Doesn't
one,
work anymore.
doesn't work anymore. I mean, our elders perhaps did a master's in
Yeah.
philosophy or political science on top of their law degrees, and that was that. Now things are a bit different, and if I take my own example by way of experience sharing, I my final degree is not even an LLM. I have an MBA from the University of Oxford. So I felt that as a lawyer who was doing more and more commercial work and commercial dispute resolution, I needed to become more familiar with how CEOs and board members think and how to tackle those kind of large commercial projects and commercial disputes. And so there is no one path, right? You have to, and that too. I mean, when I wanted to study for an MBA. My circumstances perhaps didn't permit at that time. So I did that 10 years into the career. So that's also another thing. You don't have to think that, oh, but I can't do something because I'm getting married next year, or I have to start earning soon. These are all real life, challenges that we all face at some point. The challenge may be different, but we all have challenges. But if you are committed enough and you are driven to achieve certain milestones, then you'll always find a way to do those things later on in life. And I have done that, and I say that very, very proudly, right? And uh, so I feel that there shouldn't be any bar or hesitation. I went to Kinnaid College, University yesterday at the Nadra Hassan Law Department, and the person who's been the head of department there in the past, just came back from UK after completing her doctorate and with young children who were mostly in Pakistan. And I was very proud of what she's achieved, in these years as a female legal academic with children, and then 10, 15 years later in the profession gone on to do a doctorate because she felt that that was important for her career progression and her personal interest as well. So I would only say that everything is possible. If you are committed, you will get admissions. If you can't afford something time-wise or money-wise today or tomorrow, maybe you can afford it in 10 years' time. So never think that you've missed a board. Everybody has their own timeline. You should move on your own. So that's what I would say.
That's actually a beautiful piece of advice that there is no one fixed timeline for everyone, and everybody moves and grows at their own pace, and you aren't far behind. You haven't been left behind just because you aren't where
Absolutely.
somebody else in your class was at this point. So, okay, Taimur, एक और question है. So, what skills, experiences, or internships should Pakistani students then focus on during their LLB if they want, all these opportunities later for international law?
So I think anybody who's studying in Pakistan should first and foremost focus on knowing the processes in Pakistan, because that's your most realistic option. And because you're living in Pakistan, you've grown up here, you must know how local litigation is done, what the local corporate environment is like. So I would say students must work with, a local litigator. It doesn't need to be a large firm. In fact, a senior lawyer who can give them attention and some training would be a great fit. Then if you can get an opportunity to intern at one of the proper corporate law firms, that's also great.
Okay.
And then once you've done that, you should look for internships or placements abroad if your visa situation permits, your circumstances permit. If you can't do that, at least look for virtual internships. Now, that's a thing that didn't used to exist pre-COVID, but during COVID, even my firm at that time, Clyde and Co, and others like Freshfields and Clifford Chance, they all started virtual work experience programs to open up to university students from all over the place. And when I was there, because of quoting the law, we used to get these requests. We started quoting the law's online or virtual work experience program. And so now firms like Clyde and Co have added the University of London International Program, Punjab University, LUMS, etc., Zabist in Karachi, Bahria International Islamic University, as universities. If you are a student at one of them, you can select from the scroll down menu bar on their pages, and you can enroll for these virtual work experience programs and benefit from them. You get a certificate as well, but it's
Sorry to interrupt
these.
you, Temur. What exactly happens in a virtual internship?
So you're not directly working with a lawyer, but you are given different tasks. So you are
Okay.
given a problem. You have to write some a legal memo around it. You get advice on whether you've done it right or not, what could be done better. Now AI is obviously very much in play in these things as well. Then you are asked to mark up agreements or draft. So, and then the system tells you if you've done a great job, if you picked up on, the main 4 or 5 issues that were to be looked at, how far apart were you from the real issues that were to be identified in a document review. So these are useful things to do. So I think you must do that, because when you apply abroad eventually, or even in Pakistan, if law firms or recruiting partners see that somebody has gone through the effort and has taken advantage of this global world of internet, and done these work experiences, it shows initiative. And in law, more than any other profession, initiative is key. I often say, that law is we all believe it to be a very holy profession, noble profession. You can do so much for the public, for those around you. You could be, helping those who need help the most. But at the same time, it is whether you're working alone or you're running a law firm, is also a business. And like any business, you have costs to pay for your office, for your utility bills, for your support staff. If you employ lawyers, you have to pay them, hopefully pay them properly. All of that means that you have to also think about business development, client development, how much to charge, when do the clients pay you, because you still have to pay on the first of every month in terms of your own cost base. So these things need to be considered as well. It's very different if you are a barrister in UK and your chamber takes care of everything. You don't deal directly with money. Pakistan, the lawyers are not, there's no division between barristers and solicitors. Everybody, is a lawyer, is an advocate. Some people do both office work, corporate work, and litigation. Some decide to do one or the other. Uh, but I think lawyers need training around entrepreneurship, around accounting and finance, and around things like anti-money laundering, uh, all the things, that data protection, all things that are now very relevant to running a law practice. And if you've done that as young students, and even as fresh graduates, if when you apply for your postgrad degrees or jobs abroad, if you're able to show that you have the sense and the vision that these are the skills that are required from the lawyer of the future, you'll be more employable, you're more likely to stand out, and hence those are things that you need to work on. And if I can add something to this, Nida, I would say, apart from internships, another thing young lawyers and students should do is they should do courses on accounting and finance and business development and consulting. And you can do these courses online for free in most cases. But if you've gone from an A level to an external LLB degree and you've not studied business courses, you've not taken courses like accounting and finance, I think you need to do those online courses and build your skills.
We're actually
In
going
addition
to,
now
you've
to
given me a
AI.
very good idea. After we stop recording, I'm actually going to take a list of all the websites that you have mentioned, and I think we will link them with this recording as well, so that anybody who's watching, they can actually visit those and gather the information that they need. But this was actually a really good roadmap which you have actually laid down for students if they wish to pursue a career in international law. This was very, very helpful, Temur, because again, we all wish to, sort of pursue a career in international law at some point during our legal studies, but no one actually tells you how to do it. And I'm really grateful that you actually came in and you are giving some very honest and very constructive advice to students on what exactly they should do. And it's not very generic how they should study hard and how they should do some research. You're actually telling them what to do. I think it is really important that we also film a part two soon after, where you can then give further advice on how they should apply to international law firms, and in particular, how they can also apply for work in the Middle East, because I believe that is where your forte lies as well.
Absolutely. Would be very happy to do so.
Thank you so much once again for joining us, Temur. I will be bothering you very soon, and we will be posting the links to all the websites that Temur had mentioned during our conversation. And to everyone watching, I sincerely hope that this proved to be a valuable episode for you. If you have any questions, please email them to us at info@sil.edu.pk, and I will do my best to have Temur answer any questions that you may have. So thank you, Temur, and thank you to everybody who is watching, and Allah Hafiz.